What is the relevance of religion in contemporary world, in the contemporary times, and particularly in connection with the pursuit of happiness? So that's where I would bring up my second point that I left, this collective responsibility which is together, and then there is an individual responsibility as well. How many of you saw the movie Diwar? Okay, brilliant. How many of you remember the dialogue between Amitabh Bachchan and Shashi Kapoor, where Amitabh Bachchan talks to Shashi Kapoor and says, "Mere paas bangla hai, gaadi hai, naukar hai, chakar hai, tere paas kya hai?" And we know Shashi Kapoor says, "Mere paas maa." 2022, cut to 2022, and the dialogue has changed. Where Amitabh Bachchan says to Shashi Kapoor, "Mere paas Lamborghini hai, mere paas Ferrari hai, mere paas Bentley hai, mere paas Audi hai, tere paas kya hai?" And Shashi Kapoor says, "Mere paas parking space hai." In a city like Mumbai, parking space is probably more expensive than the car itself, I think, you know. And I've often said that whatever car we drive in the city, there's one car that we must all drive in our life. And that car is an acronym. In that car, the C stands for change what you can change. You have problems in your life, you do what you can do to sort those problems out. Like I have this pain in my temples for the last 29 years. I've tried everything, allopathy, homeopathy, naturopathy, even tried Tirupati, nothing worked. Somehow nothing worked, you know. So at the end of the day, and it's not that I don't try now. I still keep giving my best. Anybody suggests to me a modality of treatment, I'll go for it. So number one, the C in the car is to change what you can change. But to be honest, there are things in life that we can't change. Imagine a terminally ill patient at home. The doctor says 2 months to live. Imagine a couple born with a child with special needs. Can't change everything. And therefore, A in the car stands for accept what you cannot change. One of the fundamental aspects of spirituality is acceptance. If I'm not able to accept things, the more I struggle with fighting those things that I can't change, I'm losing my time and my mental energy on things that are beyond me. And therefore, to come to terms with the fact that this is how much I can change, but there are things that I can't, so the second aspect is acceptance. But there are also going to be things that are beyond my acceptance. I can't even accept them. Like I have a friend and she got married, and in 6 months she found out her husband's gay. Now I don't have any problem with anybody's particular sexual orientation. It's a very personal choice. But for her to be in that relationship is extremely toxic. So then that brings us, she couldn't change it. It's hardwired. She couldn't accept it. That brings us to the third thing, which is the R in the car. And that R in the car is two things. The first aspect of R is to remove yourself from a situation that you can't accept. So for her, she didn't have any other resort, any other way out, but to remove herself out of that relationship. And she did. She did seek a divorce, and the divorce went through. But there are so many situations in our lives where you can't even remove yourself. There are people whom I know are working a job and the bosses are like bloody toxic. But you can't get another opportunity. You're stuck there. You can't change the boss. He's who he is or she is who she is. You can't accept them. You can't even remove. And there's so many such examples that could be given of a situation like that. Here, just an example of a toxic boss. And therefore, then the R stands for rise above what you cannot accept. I was in New York and I was flying from New York to Chicago. Just the day before, me and my friend were walking. I live in Manhattan when I go to New York, and we were walking around and we went to the One World Observatory, went up and we watched it all. It was fantastic. Stood down at the massive building, humongous. And the next day when we flew, when the flight took off and gained altitude, I saw this very same building The building hadn't changed. It was exactly the same. It stayed in the same place. It was as huge. But because I had risen above, it started seeming to be insignificant and small to me. Not because it became insignificant, because I rose above. So change what you can change. Accept what you can't change. Remove yourself when you can't accept and you can remove. And when you can't even remove, then you have to be there, but learn how to rise above. That is where I feel, whether call it religion, call it spirituality, that is the contribution of spiritual culture in modern times. Because in modern times, we find ourselves in extremely helpless situations at times. Situations where nothing outside is able to help us. And there's no other way but to rise above. And I think that is a key role that spirituality or religion can play. The problem with religion, however, is religion and faith has boundaries. Whereas when you talk about spirituality is universal beyond any boundaries of faith.